We have been like, their intimacy has really, I should say sexual intimacy has really like dwindled down. Like our, like sex in particular hasn't been happening very often.
I mean, you did mention like, you know, having like intimacy issues and things like that. How do you guys kind of make time for each other when your daughter is sleeping in your bed with you and you are in such a small space? I mean, that has to be a really big challenge.
Great question.
Yeah.
We haven't. Like, to be very, very honest, we haven't. And because like, it's just like that's for like, I guess we're talking about challenges in the beginning. And I'm like, well, yeah, there's a few. Well, that's the biggest one, because we really thought, you know, I think you always envision something before it starts. Like your vacation, you're like, oh, we're going to do this and this. And then you get on vacation, you're like, oh my God, I need a vacation after that vacation. Like the kids were crazy. And that's kind of like what's happening with this RV thing, because I was like, oh, Henley will have her bed. And that was the first thing we did. We got her bed all cozy for her. We got Hendrix's bed set up, and she hasn't slept one night in it. And so there goes that out the window. And so of course we really haven't, I mean, we've been intimate like when we've been away, where like if we're like an Airbnb, then they have their own room. And so, but like we have been like, their intimacy has really, I should say sexual intimacy has really like dwindled down. Like our, like sex in particular hasn't been happening very often, but our intimacy has kind of grown more. Like last night, you know, our daughter's in bed, we scooch her over and he curled up behind me and we just cuddled while we were watching a TV show. And, you know, so there's so much more than just sexual intimacy. But let's just be honest, sex is important for every relationship and we're not having enough of it, which is why for Christmas, we are going to go. We haven't had any, like we just haven't had any alone time. And the whole idea is to grow closer as a family and to, you know, to grow stronger as husband and wife. And the one is happening, but the other isn't. So for Christmas, you know, I got him, my friend and I were like, what are we gonna get our husbands? So we're going to Cancun for just a little getaway, no kids, and just gonna go scuba diving and hopefully like reignite that spark.
I love that. You guys are gonna have the best time ever. That's amazing. I love that so much.
Thank you.
I know that you've also been really open about wanting to expand your family even more in the future. I'm sure you're probably kind of, are you putting that on hold for now as you guys kind of travel, you know, the United States, and then maybe when you kind of settle back into Florida, you'll kind of maybe re-examine that? Yeah,
so that was actually the plan to begin with. And also like, I've just struggled for the past like 2 years really with like just postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. Even like when I was pregnant and during like, you know, COVID, and I wasn't sure how I was going to deliver my baby. That's when it really kind of spiraled out of control for me. And I feel like even after I had my baby, then it was like, oh my gosh, I have a baby in the midst of COVID and what's going to happen. And it just always seemed like something else. And I'm like, when am I ever going to feel better? Like I was beginning to think that like, I don't know, that was like my new state of mind. Like just like this constant fear, anxiety, worry. I don't know if anybody else can like relate with that.
No, totally. No, I had such bad postpartum anxiety, especially after my second, more so than my first. Like the anxiety was real.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is I was like, when you have a first, then you have your second and you're like, oh, I got this. But I'm like, my nipples are bleeding and cracked. And I'm like, I feel like what's wrong with me? Like I should know how to nurse. I nursed my first baby,
right?
You know?
Exactly.
Like, yeah. And like, or my baby wouldn't sleep all night. And I'm like, but wait a minute, like I did this with one, like, why am I not doing this right with my second one? So yeah. So definitely just struggled like in like the mental health department. And that is what put us on hold, because we want at least 3, if not like 6, to be honest. I would have 6. I'm like, can we compromise at 4, Doug? Because he only wants another one. But I'm like, we're gonna get twins and I'll have 4. We'll be okay. So we put it on hold, but we literally just got done talking about, you know, just the fact that, well, first of all, I think it is important that, you know, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. And if you want to have a healthy relationship, I felt like it wasn't fair for me to have another baby if I felt like not present enough with my 2 children that I have now. And so I was like, you know, if I got to choose, I would rather become mentally healthy, you know? And I feel like there's such a stigma to that. Like even saying it sounds so strange, you know, saying it out loud, because you fear people will judge you. Like, what do you mean mentally healthy?
Sure.
But like, if your heart's not working, then you take care of it before you put any other strain on it. And if your brain isn't working properly, there should be no shame in taking care of it before you put more strain on it. And so I did put trying to conceive on hold. However, I do feel significantly better now. And, you know, it takes 9 months before that baby pops out. And so, you know, and if I'm traveling all around the country, I'm not going to want to drink anyways. And so I'm like, well, Jesus, this could be a good time to get pregnant, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking doctor visits. I don't know. So we're potentially going to start trying. I mean, also it took me such a long time and I'm not getting any younger. So, and according to medical terms, I'm advanced maternal age now. So I'm like, you know what? If we start trying now and we got pregnant, what a blessing that would be. But I mean, or if I don't and I struggle, then I'll know at least a little bit more in advance before, you know, that I might need like IVF or something. So in any case, yeah, we might just start trying again.